All right. All right, my dear fellow listeners and viewers. Good evening once again, and welcome to another edition of the Dr. Narine Dat Show. The whole idea of the Dr. Narine Dat Show is to really create a safe space for positive energy and mutual respect. Obviously, we have had different guests in the show. We take the time to get to know them. We promote what they do. We talk about social issues and so much more. Tonight is a little bit different because tonight I really want to pause a little bit and kind of focus a little bit and share with you, a little bit of reflection on my new book, Rising Above. And the reason behind this is because all of us, well, at some point, go through challenges in our lives, right? Things wouldn't always go as planned. There will always be, stumbling blocks in the way. Sometimes we may start something, we invest, time, energy, and all of that, and we do not always get the result that we hope for. Not uncommon, right? So the message in this book is, regardless of what challenges we're going through, regardless of what we have, regardless of what we may have done in the past in terms of our own, personal project and not getting the result we're hoping for, whatever the case may be for you, I want you to know this. I want you to know that despite all of that, you can still rise above. That's the message, that's the end message really from my book, Rising Above. I will give you the opportunity, obviously, for you to kind of, ask any sort of question as it relates to me as an individual, whether that be academically, whether that be, related to career, all of these types of things, because that's where my strength lies. Let me put it that way. But we want to keep the conversation here, clean and respectful. All right, because we are all in different places in life. Even though sometimes we feel as if we are behind, sometimes we feel as if people are ahead of us. That's not necessarily the case. That's how we view it, because sometimes we have the tendency to compare ourselves with other people, not realizing that some people are starting now and some people started 20 years ago. So what that means is the people who started 20 years ago will be 20 years ahead, right? So what I'm trying to say here, do not compare yourself with anybody at all. I will give you the opportunity though to ask any sort of question you have regarding this book. But like I said, that's the whole idea or the message I want to give you tonight. But I want to personally share some highlights that really resonate with me more. For those of you who know me, or for those of you who don't know me, I was born and raised in Berbice, Ghana. And so when I migrated to Canada, and this is part in this book here as well too, my goal actually was to find meaningful work. I love to work. I enjoy contributing to the economy in ways that fitting with me in terms of my own skill set and things of that sort. Over the years, though, I've had lots of challenges in terms of finding, meaningful work that fits with my values, fit with my educational background, fit with the things that I love and enjoy doing. But I never give up. I always keep, moving forward. I always try my best to stay focused, despite the fact that, there were challenges and so forth. Because I'm aware of my own capability and things of that sort. One of the things that I've commit myself to is that I never stay at one job for more than 5 years. So that's my own personal commitment I made to myself, especially in the kind of work I do. Like one of my main roles right now is I work in mental health, and people who work in mental health would know that it is a tough job. It is an important job, but at the same time, it's tough work in different ways, right? And so I've had a really good job. Back in the days, I've had a good job. I've worked as, at really, good jobs, not related to social work or mental health in any shape or form. But I want to share this story with you. So I remember one day driving to work, and I'm saying to myself, like, why am I going to work? Like, this does not fit with me. And this is me being at a job for 10 years ago. I have had, over a month vacation, I believe about 6 week paid vacation, countless sick days, all of these types of things. And so I called my workplace and I said to them, look, I'm not coming in today. They never thought anything of it because I don't miss days. Believe it or not, I've worked at one place for 10 years. That's in my earlier days. Never miss one day. So they didn't think anything of it. And I did a quick research and I got into social work. I applied for, social work program. A colleague of mine did not want to continue on after 10 years as well too. And she wanted, to become a police officer. She wanted to serve in that way. And I'm happy to say that she works as a police officer right now. And I'm in this, social work. Social work is a broader term, but I'm a research scientist. I'm a mental health professional. And I have to say that when I made that decision to quit my job after 10 years, loving it, build relationship with people and so forth, I wasn't sure what the outcome will be. But what I do know is that I will give it my best shot, right? And I have to tell you that I enjoy, every minute of my journey, driving to school, out of the city and come back and all of those types of things, right? And as I was, returning back to school, this is a long story I'm talking about here. This is a long time, but I want to share this with you because at the end of the day, we are never too young or too old to get started with anything. And career is a big part of people's life because a lot of people are stuck doing things that they don't like, right? But they're doing it because they have to pay the bills and so forth. And I have to tell you that the decision that I've made, in terms of quitting my job that I've been there for a long time, knowing that I can climb up the ladder really, really high, I left all of that because whatever I was doing was a decent job, by the way. I was working as an internal auditor, but it did not really fit with my values. I have to say, I have absolutely no regrets in any shape or form. Have I not, took that risk, I would have lost it from so many different opportunities, and all of that is written nicely in his book. And a lot of times people wouldn't want to invest in a book and so forth. They're thinking, oh my goodness, Narine is going to make money here. But when you invest in a book as such, you're basically gaining. You're gaining because you will learn all the tips, based on mistakes that we have made, meaning that you wouldn't want to make those kinds of mistakes. So you'll be learning, right? You'll be learning from my own personal experience. Nicely written in this book here, Rising Above. That's the piece, really resonate with me because I always like the idea of, keep an eye out, to see what's out there in terms of job. And believe it or not, though I have a professional job, as we speak, I always continuously look to see what else is out there. I do, believe it or not, 3 to 4 interviews monthly as an average. I want to know what's happening. I want to know if the system is fair, and so forth. And that knowledge I use to pass on to other people as well too. Something that has always resonated with me. And again, like I said to you, all of that is in this book where you can kind of, hopefully gain a thing or two. Because the thing is, if we are stuck, right? And as I mentioned it nicely in this book, Rising Above, if you're stuck doing something that you don't like, you will be extremely miserable. It's going to affect not only you, but it will also affect the people in your circle as well too. So that's something to kind of to kind of really keep in mind as I'm sharing with you here. I've intentionally, decided to reflect on this because I think it is important. So I know many of you already purchased this book. And I'm in no shape or form, a Shakespeare type of writer, and that's not the purpose of this book. This book is written in very simple language where the everyday people can understand and get it. They can relate to it. But as I was saying to you, the whole purpose of this book really is to remind yourself that any one of you, regardless of what you're going through right now, regardless of what your past may have looked like, regardless how people may have viewed you, you can still rise above all of that, right? You have the power in you, by the way, you can make it work for you, right? And so that's the employment piece. I can go on and on with the employment piece because I remember passionate about, the employment piece. And that's one of the reasons, by the way, in my doctorate thesis, my paper was based on best practices for inclusive hiring, believe it or not. And the reason for that is because we live in a society today where if you don't know somebody, it is a shame, but it does happen. If you don't know anybody in the system, it is extremely difficult for you to find job for yourself, for you to, find job for somebody you know, to find job for your kids and all of that. I personally have helped hundreds of people, thousands of people over the years finding meaningful work because in my earlier days, that was part of my job. But I help people find job based on the connection I have in the community, my relationship with them and so forth. But as I get a little bit more mature in life, I realize that this is a problem. I realize that not everybody has what it takes to network. I realize that not everybody is able to kind of, put themselves out there and, being able to advocate for himself or sell himself, so to speak, in terms of when they go in for interviews and so forth. And so I'm, viewing it from a whole different lens now where I'm encouraging employers to really hire based on skill set. Because when you're a recent graduate, for example, if you if you may be a recent graduate with with a degree and all of that, but at the same time, employers still view you as new, meaning that yes, you have that academic piece, but not have that hands-on experience and so forth, right? So that is a huge problem. It is a problem globally. And you and I will never see those changes because society operates that way, unfortunately. When you have that inside connection, it makes all the huge difference, right? So let me see if anybody has any question here. If you have any question for me, folks, please ask them. But one of the best advice I can give you, if can purchase this book for yourself, for friends, family, and so forth, everything is written here so nicely. Because I did not hold back. I really share, my own personal journey, with the hope that people can kind of really realize that, hey, you know what, this can be done, right? So the idea is to really focus on you. The idea is to make sure that you recognize your own strength, because nobody will ever be like me, because there's only one Narine, right? And nobody will ever be like you as well too. So the key point here, regardless of where you're at in life, never compare yourself with anybody else. Know that everybody start their journey at different times. And as soon as we start to compare people or compare ourselves with other people, that's when we start to feel like failure. So anything to do with employment and jobs, and how to make it work in your favor, it's all in here. So I would encourage you, to get a book. If you're not interested to get like a hard copy, you can also get a digital copy for cheaper and so forth. And this is not about me trying to sell you a book to make a few dollars here. That is okay too, but this is more for me to share my knowledge with people, right? So please do consider that. So that's the employment piece. It's in that book. Another piece I want to highlight is the academic piece. All of us are at different place in our lives when it comes academically. Not all of us are academically strong, and that's totally fine. I happen to be academically strong. That doesn't mean that I'm better than anybody else. I happen to love school, and that's my own personal, passion of mine. I love studying and so forth. But I have to tell you that if you have an opportunity, especially young folks, and it could be mature people too who are hoping to change career. I'm going back to the whole career thing, as you can see. Go for it. Because I can tell you for sure right now, based on my experience, the more education you have, the more money you will get. Many employers now start to pay you based on your qualification. And so if you have, and this is not to condemn anybody in any shape or form, this is more to share with you what I have in this book. I started from scratch. My parents are not college and university graduates. I'm first generation. And so I want to share that knowledge out there with people, because for me, if I don't share this knowledge, it's a waste of time, right? And so if you have an opportunity, especially in Guyana right now, like people have the opportunity to go back to school, and it's all paid for. It's free education as I understand it. But obviously you will have to put some effort, right? To make sure you sacrifice some time. But as you would know, nothing good comes easy, right? Whatever we put in, that's what we're going to get back, right? That's the bottom line. So if you have an opportunity to continue on, advance yourself academically, do it. Don't be fooled with what you're seeing on social media. With all this like and views and all of that, and people are doing stuff that has no relation to academic pieces, no relation to things that in some cases make sense as well too. Don't get trapped into those temporary things. Those things are only, it is only, for entertainment purposes in many cases, right? When you have knowledge, that's one of the things nobody can take away from you, right? So something to keep in mind. Again, I nicely put it in this book here. And the good thing with one of the advice I can give folks here, especially those of you who are probably trying to maybe access, or enter some sort of degree program, you want to make sure that when you finish that degree, it has some sort of value to it, meaning that if you cannot transfer those credits to a different university, right, then that's a huge problem. Because the only thing you will be able to do with that university is to maybe post it on Facebook, right? But you want to make sure that when you do a study, make sure that it is accredited. You want to make sure that if you have plans, so let's say move, to different parts of the world, you want to make sure that whatever you're studying, it is recognized, there as well too, right? So it's not just a temporary short-term thing. Realize, oh my goodness, there's a free program here. You want to dig into it as well too, because at the end of the day, it is your time as well too, right? But again, if you have an opportunity, and the younger folks, I mean, you folks have all the resources right at your fingertips. In the earlier days, a lot of people will know this, we didn't had all of the access, all the access that we have right now, resources, research, and all of that. It is much easier now. That's one of the reasons you see, young folks are writing 26, 25, 27 subjects and so forth, because the resources are easily available now. But if you have an opportunity to do it. And the good news is that when you have a strong foundation academically, you do not have to start from scratch again, right? So generally speaking, when you have a good foundation academically, about 75% of your credit can be transferred elsewhere, right? Depending on the program. So something to keep in mind as well too. So again, all of that I nicely explained in this book, Rising Above. I put in here because sometimes people get caught up with all the, the shortcuts and the fast-paced pieces that we see on social media. And a lot of times people are looking for, easy, an easy way out. And maybe there are a handful of people who have been very lucky to have it that way, which is great, good for them. But ideally, if you do your research, by the way, so taking a university course or program is one thing, but before you even get to that point, you want to make sure that you do your research to make sure that when you're done, you will find a job related to that program. Because if not, you will be right back to square one again, right? And that's a huge problem as well too. I know many people who completed, a master's, a bachelor degree and whatnot, but they're not able to find work in that area. And that is a huge problem, right? Because when you spend the time and the effort and so forth, and money as well too in some cases, you want to make sure that you are having satisfaction taking those programs. In certain culture, we still have pressure, from parents and so forth, where, people have to take a specific program. It still happens. We live here in the region of Waterloo, Ontario. One of the universities not far away from me, every month, one student is taking their own life because of pressure from parents, pressure, for taking particular programs and so forth. So another thing to keep in mind, all of that is nicely written in here. You do not have to, do it all at once. But again, if you have an opportunity to advance yourself academically, especially if you're young, now is the time to do it. Because if not, I can assure you, as you get more mature, older in life, you will regret it. And it's a sad thing to say, but I want to be realistic with you as well, too. Let me see if anybody... Yeah, so let me acknowledge a few people here quickly. And for those of you who have just tuned in, you're watching and listening to Dr. Narine Dat Show. And today I'm kind of doing something very different, really trying to reflect on my new book, Rising Above. And before I say hello to a few people here, I came from a very humble beginning. For those of you who know me well, I come from a very humble beginning, born and raised in Berbice, Ghana. But I think the one thing that kept me grounded in life, though, is that I was a active temple mandir goer person. And I was going for the right reason. I think that's what kind of kept me grounded, so to speak. But before I get into more stuff as it relates to my new book, Rising Above, I definitely want to give a special hello to a few people here. I want to give a special hello to Leon. Thank you, Leon. Thanks for all the great work you do, and thank you for always sharing our page. Thanks, Ken. I hope you're doing well. Hope you and your family are doing well. John from Queens, thank you so much. Salim, you're doing well as well academically. I can see that, and you're a young man. And I hope that you will continue along that line, because I can assure you, and you will know this by now, but I want to at least mention it here again while you're watching. You will never go wrong to continue to build from where you're at right now. It will only take you, places you never imagined. That I can assure you. And so many people, I cannot, see everybody right now, but do know that I appreciate you folks watching. And so I will never know the folks who purchase, this book, Rising Above. But based on the feedback I've gotten, I can tell that people are really buying the book for the right reason. They're buying it because they want to understand what is it that they can do for themselves so that they too can rise above, right? If and I also want to share that it depends. It all depending where you're purchasing this book. So the price range will be different. If you purchase the book, the book on Amazon, the price will be different in comparison to if you were to buy it in the store and elsewhere and so forth. If you buy digital copy, it will be different in comparison with the hard copy. I personally will recommend the hard copy. It will be more money, but the thing is, when you have the tangible copy, it's very different. It's different. You hold it, you can open it. It's different kind of thing. So, always the possibility for an autograph at some point, things of that sort. I also want to talk a little bit about my community involvement in, throughout my life, and it's all written here. Without me being part of a community, I don't know what life would have been for me. I would have been so lost. I'm not perfect in any shape or form, but I can tell you with confidence is that I always try my best to put people before profit. So even though I'm a business owner as well too, right, and the idea is to make money and so forth, I always find a way to serve people, even though it might not be feasible for them, for certain service, right? And because of my involvement, though, and I'm sharing this with you for a purpose. Over the years, I've dedicated, countless, time. I really kind of put a specific number on here to help out in so many different ways, just like many of you who are probably watching. I did it because it did something for me. It gives me an opportunity to connect with people. It gave me the opportunity to learn and to grow. But I have to tell you, in the long run as well too, which for me was unexpected and was good to know. I've gotten high-end jobs as well too, because I stood out from other people, right? Yes, a number of people will apply for the same role, and yes, check mark, they all meet that academic criteria. But the next question is, what set one individual part in comparison with all the other applicants, for example? I have to say, because of my community work, which is unmatched, it really kind of gives me an extra edge. And I'm very pleased about that, because it worked out well in my favor. So for those of you who have an opportunity to give back to the community in some shape or form, without looking back for any sort of thing in return, do it. Because as you do it, you will learn, you will connect. Mentally, it's good for you. And again, you ideally, and I can tell you with confidence here, is that you get back so much more in so many different ways, for sure, right? But when you choose to, contribute to the community, choose to give back, you want to do it in a way where you're doing it wholeheartedly, you're doing it, for the right reason and so forth. Like, that's always the key. If you're able to do it, that's always a beautiful thing. And I actually highlight it so nicely in this book here as well, to Rising Above. And like I said to you, for me, I will be lost if I'm not involved in something. And I'm as open as you can be. So even though I'm a born Guyanese, I do not limit myself only to the Guyanese people, because I get support from people across the globe. So I will never just focus on, Guyanese. I focus on anybody who looks like a human being to me. I kind of, help contribute, work together in partnership and so forth. And it is irrelevant to me if they're from Guyana, like I said to you, or if, they're from a different race. all of that. None of that comes to play when I make a decision in terms of working on any sort of project, or lending my talent in any shape or form. Totally irrelevant. I don't operate that way at all. And over the years, I've really gotten, even better, right? So I wouldn't make a decision and say, oh my goodness, I will kind of work with this individual because they're from Guyana, or I'll work with that individual, you know, because, we are from the same country and so forth. I don't operate that way, right? Um, so that's the community piece I really want to share with you. Um, as well. And like I said, it's all written in this book here so nicely. Even if you're not a reader, a lot of people are not big readers these days, because, we get hooked, into our TikTok and our social media pieces, and we forget about ourselves. A lot of times people put everybody at the front and they put themselves at the back. And that's one of the things I also mentioned here in this book, to always, always put yourself first. And a lot of times people don't understand what that means. A lot of people ask me, especially in therapy sessions and so forth, people say to me, Narine, like, what do you mean by, to put yourself first? What does that mean? So what that means is, when you put yourself first, meaning that when you take yourself physically, mentally, and all of that, which is all nicely written in this book, that's when you will be able to help the people in your circle, help the people in your household. You will be present, for your spouse. You'll be present for your friends, partner. You'll be present to help, do your part, in the, at work and so forth. But if you're putting everybody else first and putting yourself behind, you're really setting up yourself for failure. And I'm sharing this because that is the right thing to do. It is not a selfish thing. It took me many years to even understand it and to even put it into practice, because in my earlier years, obviously, I've been doing the same thing, making the same mistake, where I always put people first and I worry about other people, making sure that everybody else is okay. And then we don't worry about ourselves, right? Which is a huge problem. And so I hope that you will, really make the effort somehow to get a copy of this book. For those of you who will be attending the event at Calypso Hut on December the 6th, I'll be there. I will be emceeing that event. I will have copies where you will have an opportunity to have an autograph copy. That's the plan, and I cannot see anything change there. So for those of you who plan in attending the event, I do encourage you to kind of, don't change, your plan. Make the effort to be there. That's basically it's a fundraising event. I'm not the one putting together the event, but I'm supporting the event because folks who are organizing have supported me as well in the past. And so when I was asked to MC at that event, I felt it was necessary for me to actually pay it forward as well too. But anyways, that's one of the places you can have, a signed copy of this book. For those of you who may have already have a copy of Rising Above, My Path to Outstanding Achievements, and if you already have it and you want to put a comment, based on, what you read so far, that's going to be a good thing as well too. Any question you folks want to ask will be good as well too. Like I said to you, I'm here just to kind of highlight and, reflect on this book, Rising Above. I think that's important. There are so many, interesting things that I talked about here. Obviously, I have a little bit about me growing up in Guyana, because that's where my journey started, right? You will see a lot of my pieces as it relates to my achievement as well too. Because it is my book, I felt it was important for me to highlight some of my personal achievements as well too, and things of that kind. But again, amazing book. Even in here, I talk a little bit about politics as well too, because I actually, represented, federally, provincially, locally, and so forth, because it was my way to kind of take things to the next level. Because for me, I always ask myself, what's next for me, right? So when I finish a project, when I finish something, my question to myself is, what's next for me, really? And so for me, running, politically was an opportunity for me to kind of use that platform to address issues that I feel necessary to kind of bring to the public. And even though I have never secured a seat running for these offices, I feel content of crossing that finishing line, right? Maybe in the future, I'll kind of try again. But for me, if I didn't try, I would have not have any sort of satisfaction. The fact that I give it a shot, I have contentment knowing that I give it everything I got and I accepted, the result for what it is. So all of that, it's nicely written in this book as well too. And so it's a really good read. You can, you do not have to read everything all at once, little by little. And then as you read it, you want to kind of try to figure out how is it that you now can mold your life so that you can be the best version of yourself. In here, I also talk about rejection. In life, you and I will get more yes, sorry, my apologies. You will get more no's than yes. And so when you have those rejection, what do you do really, right? And so all of that is nicely written in this book here for me. When I get any sort of rejection, which I've had countless rejection over the years and still do from time to time, at this stage in my life now, I'm kind of saying, look, what's next now? I do not allow that to hold me back, but rather I use it as an opportunity to kind of move forward. I've kind of sometimes step back, reassess things, but never, I allow those rejections, to get in the way to kind of hold me back. Right? So, again, for those of you who may have just tuned in halfway through and you're kind of wondering, why am I talking so much here? I'm here highlighting and reflecting on this new book that I wrote, Rising Above. And for some reason, people will have difficulties. And again, this is a safe space, so I can say this. People have difficulties to actually purchase this book for different reasons. Maybe they're not able to do it online. Maybe they feel that it's not necessary for them to spend, that $20, $25 and so forth. But a lot of times people will spend that money doing so many other different things. People have a hard time investing in themselves. And so if I were you, purchase this book wholeheartedly and give me some feedback as well too as to what you made out of it. Because when you purchase this book, you're doing yourself a favor here. You will have the opportunity to learn from my story, learn from my journey, where you will kind of not take the path that you will get to know that wouldn't work best for you based on what you have at hand, right? So it's a learning thing, and it's one way to kind of support as well too, so this is not a fundraising by the way when I say support, right? But I think when people do any sort of project, the idea is to get it out. And as I was mentioning, I do not necessarily rely only on the Guyanese people or the West Indian people. I rely on the broader community, but I feel obligated to really share it, with folks who can benefit the most, and that will be anybody. All right. So I will hang on here for a few more minutes, and if there's anybody have any questions, so I will be delighted to share this. And so usually we'll have different guests and so forth. And speaking of guests, though, I want to mention that next week's show, a week from today, Ganesh Kasinath will join us. He has a new release, and so he will be joining us to kind of promote it here. And so I wouldn't feature the song or anything of that sort tonight, but he'll be joining us a week from now. But it's going to be nice to support, to kind of support him as well too. Yes, for sure. All right. So I'm gonna kind of leave it open for a little, if anybody has any kind of question as it relates to this book, I think that's going to be a good thing. Let me say hello to Rose, by the way. Thank you, Rose, for taking a sneak peek here. Dave, Chetram, whoops. Thank you as well for taking a sneak peek. And for those of you, who are sharing and whatnot, do know I appreciate, you folks doing that. That's always a beautiful thing. And again, for those of you who have just kind of tuned in, there are a few different ways to kind of listen to our show. You could listen to us on the regular dial. That's the radio 102.7 CKMS FM. You can listen to us on Rogers digital cable for those of you who have the Rogers digital box. And of course, we are also live streaming our show here. So do take the opportunity to share our page. For those of you who share our page, we appreciate it and we value you watching and listening. I'm at a point in life right now where I love giving back. And so what I'm doing right now, I'm really sharing my knowledge with people. That's one of the reasons I'm kind of reflecting on this book here. I will never have enough time to do the things that I want to do in my life, right? And some of you, we have lots of supporters from all over the place. We might never get to meet each other and so forth, but this is one ways you can stay connected or you can still learn. And so my new book, Rising Above, it's available worldwide. You just have to Google name, you'll find it somewhere. It's a really good book, and I would encourage folks to even, if you're not a reader person, you can even, purchase the book and kind of give it as a gift as well to folks. And I can assure you, you can just randomly open this book and then you will have some sort of satisfaction knowing that regardless of what challenges you're going through, regardless of what hard time you're going through, you can still rise above. I can assure you this, speaking from experience. I've been in a situation where things seems to be extremely tough is not the right word, but it kind of seems as if you're not getting where where you want to be. You're not finishing things, accordingly. Everything seems hard and difficult. Sometimes you feel as if the whole world is against you and all of that. But despite all of that, I can assure you, you will have a good reminder that despite all of that, you can still rise above all of that, right? And it's all nicely written in this book here. I'm not, Barack Obama, where when he announced, his new book, within a minute he will, he's gonna have, millions of copies sold. So and many of you who are watching will get what I'm saying here, right? I'm not Hillary Clinton, where when they come out with their book, they are, within, a few minutes, 5 minutes, they're selling millions of copies. And that's another problem. And that's one of the reasons why the gap between extremely rich people and the middle class and the poorer people and so forth is very wide, because we continue to make unconscious decisions and things of that sort, which is a whole different topic for a whole different show. My purpose of coming on tonight is to really reflect and rising above, and I think I've done that. I've kind of highlighted some of the pieces, that I wrote in this book here. Even though this book is about my journey and my successes and so forth, you can read and you can really get a good sense as to what is it that you need to do today, right? What is it that you need to do today to take control of your own life. And one of the philosophy I live by is whatever I have to do tomorrow, I do it today. And whatever I have to do today, I do it now. So another thing to keep in mind, and again, all of that is written nicely here because a lot of the times we have all of these ideas, all of these things that we want to do, but we are not, taking control of it. And it's nicely written here. So on that note, I will now kind of wrap it up, but I want you folks to know that I appreciate you taking the time to take a sneak peek. And for those of you who may have tuned in halfway through or just tuning in, do know that the purpose of tonight's show is to promote, this book, Rising Above, written by yours truly. And so I'm going to leave you, here. But do know next week we have Ganesh Kasinath who will be joining us on the show. We'll talk about one of his new releases and so much more. So again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. On behalf of myself and the people in my circle, all of us would like to join together and wish you a great today and even better tomorrow. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.